So today I'm going to be doing a review of the Juvias Place I Am Magic Velvety Matte Foundation. So if you want to watch this, then just keep on watching. But really first, just to kind of get this out of the way, my name is Hannah if you're new to my channel. I am a Army wife and I work on post. My husband's obviously in the Army. We live in Georgia, which is not too bad when it's not during the summertime. I make makeup videos. I do makeup on different clients, on myself. I do all different types of videos, vlogs, and hair tutorials as well. So definitely subscribe if you like. I also post on my Instagram, Dollar Height Beauty, a lot more often than I post on YouTube or other social media platforms, other than like Facebook, because they are linked. So when I post on Instagram, it also posts on Facebook. So if you use that more than Instagram, then you can like that page too. So yeah, now that we have that all out of the way, then let's get into the review. So this foundation, when I first tried it, I was so excited. My best friend Hill and I were just like, we gotta try it. And then I remember when I first bought it, my mom actually kind of got it for me. But when I first got it from Ulta, I FaceTimed her and I was like, guess what I got? Because we were both so excited to try it. I think when we went, they didn't have her shade or something. I can't really remember, but yeah, we were really excited to try this foundation because there was a lot of hype, but there also wasn't at the same time, because I didn't see quite as many people talking about it, but I did see bigger names on YouTube, like Jeffree Star did a review. It was also a very sad video because his dog also passed away, but anyways, moving on. Basically, this foundation had a decent amount of hype behind it. And sometimes when there's a lot of hype behind a product or a movie or something, usually doesn't quite live up to what everyone is saying, but sometimes it does. So as far as my opinion, I felt like this definitely lived up to the hype. I think it's a really long lasting. The one thing that's kind of weird is when I was first buying it at Ulta, the person that was checking me out, I just kind of grabbed the lightest shade thinking, okay, I'm always the palest of the pale, so the lightest color in every line is usually me. If not, it's too dark, and then I'm kind of SOL a little bit. But I picked up the lightest shade and he was like, are you sure that that's your color? And I was like, well, I'm pretty sure. Normally I'm the lightest color. He's like, well, I want to let you know it does oxidize a little bit. We all love it, but it does oxidize. So I'm like, okay, so that's good to know. Basically, you kind of have to give it about 5 minutes to really show its color, because it's kind of weird because I'll apply it and dot all over my face, and I'll notice it's it'll go almost about maybe 2 or 3 shades darker, and I can see it on my face, but then as soon as I start blending it out, then it's its true color. It's kind of weird, but as long as it's oxidizing and then blends out to be the true color, then I'm okay with that, versus it being the opposite, which most foundations are. I thought it was really good. And the one thing, so if you have really dry skin, I can still use this even when my skin is more dry. But sometimes it can kind of make your skin look a little flat just because it is very matte. So if you don't really like matte foundations, you might not like this. But what I like to do is actually mix in, I've got 2 different liquid highlighters that I like to mix in with this. So for example, there's the Becca, what is this? Shimmering Skin Perfector in Pearl, because again, I am very fair, so that's literally white. Or I use the NARS Copacabana highlighter, but for whatever reason I can't find it right now. It's in highlighters with this. I was really skeptical because I used to have very oily skin before I started Accutane, so my skin was mixing in highlighters, and that whole strobing trend came along. I was like, yeah, no, that is not gonna work for me. But I actually really like the way that it looks. Since the foundation is so matte, it keeps you matte, but it also it just kind of gives it more natural, kind of not luminous, but just more of a natural finish. Because I mixed it in today with a moisturizer, and I mixed it in with the NARS Copacabana. Basically, but as you can see, my skin still looks matte. It just kind of has a nice little glow. I didn't really use a whole lot of highlighter today either, but it just kind of gives it more of a natural finish. I had a client that I had done her makeup on Friday for a military ball. I did her makeup at 9:45, 10 o'clock in the morning, and the ball wasn't until 5 or 6 at night, and I had checked in with her hey, how's everything lasting and everything, because she's got really oily skin, so normally products don't last very long on her. And I used this foundation on her and it lasted. She said that she didn't have any issues. I also baked her foundation a little bit, and that goes into more of the long wear part. But honestly, even if you didn't, because sometimes what I'll do is just take the littlest amount of this foundation, because it is very pigmented, and then I'll just use like a L'Oreal powder or something like that, just like a random powder, and just put a little bit just to kind of set it. Because I feel like I can't just not set my foundation. Even if I just use like the slightest amount of powder all over my face, like I just feel more comfortable with that. I'm so used to having oily skin that it's weird for me not to set my foundation. But I really like this foundation a lot. It lasts a really long time. I've been using this for about at least a couple months, almost like about 2 months, maybe 2.5 months. And I barely used any product. This foundation is, I think it's $20 or something. I'd have to look up the exact price. I think I got it on sale because they did like a buy one, get one, 50% off. So I got this foundation and then the blush palette. I'm a huge fan of this brand. I love the packaging. The eyeshadow quality is amazing. It's one of my favorites, to be honest. And I think that her face, I haven't tried I need to start like branching out more into her face products, and I did that with the blush, but it's a really good foundation. And it lasts all day long, and it just still looks fresh. And it just really helps. I don't know if it necessarily helps keep your oil at bay, but it definitely keeps your skin looking matte. And even if you had really oily skin, I think my high school self, I would have used this foundation if it was out, because it's affordable. You get a ton of products. Well, you get like 1 fluid ounce, but again, it is so like, I'll use like not even a dime size amount, and I'm like, oh yeah, I already know that I use too much, because a little goes a very long way. Normally when I apply this, I don't think I've tried using a sponge with this, so I'm not sure how it applies that way. Normally I just use a brush and I get a lot of coverage. It spreads out really easily. I don't think it dries too fast either, and it is just really a really good foundation. One thing to watch out for is it does oxidize. So when you're going in the store and you're not sure what shade you are, I would recommend, if you're not like kind of a beginner, I would recommend going to Ulta first of all, because there's natural lighting, like, 9.5 times out of 10, there's gonna be some type of natural lighting. I think you can only get it at Ulta, so I guess that's the only place you can really go. But when you are going to get your foundation matched, I wouldn't recommend going to Sephora, because the lighting in there, they have like ring lights and stuff with their mirrors, but you really want to see how it looks natural, because unless you're going to be filming or just buying a foundation to post it on Instagram, and you're wearing it for the everyday, you definitely want to see how it's going to look in natural lighting. So it's a little bit tricky, because since it is, usually Sephora's are in a mall and there isn't that like access to natural light, you don't really know how it's going to wear, because sometimes it might end up wearing a lot darker than it actually is, you know what I'm saying? So, or like you think it is when you're going to shade match. But basically he had tried 4 or 5 different shades on me, and it was crazy, because this one he was like, oh yeah, this one's gonna be too dark for you. And then as soon as I was like, well, let's just try it, like, because he had tried the other ones. One was either way too pink, one was way too yellow, one was too light. It was kind of like if you mixed all of those shades together, it would have been like my perfect shade. And this one, it was like the last one he was gonna try. He's like, but I think it's gonna be too dark. I'm like, well, let's just try it. So he tried on this side. It was weird, because when it oxidized to be like my perfect color, and it oxidized lighter than it was. I think on his skin it oxidized darker, but in my opinion, this one, it almost like oxidizes darker when you're first applying it, but then again when you blend it out, it like brings it back down. At least that's how it works on my skin. My skin, I forgot to mention, is more like normal. I don't have oily skin. My skin isn't super dry. It's pretty normal, again, since being on Accutane. And I also have like acne prone skin. Usually most foundations, or before at least Accutane, every single foundation I'd ever tried would break me out. So I used to use the MAC Pro Longwear Concealer, and I would use, concealer doesn't break me out, which is the weird part, but foundation always does. So I was really nervous trying this, because I'm like, is it gonna break me out? But it didn't. And I don't know necessarily if it has a lot of ingredients that would be like acne prone, but, and you can get a lighter coverage with this depending on how much you use. If you literally use the slightest amount all over your skin, or if you mix it in like a little bit in with like a moisturizer, you can get a lot more of a sheer coverage. But when I first applied it, the coverage was not like it looked like really sheer, but it's weird because the longer you have this foundation on, the better it looks. That's what I've noticed. Like when I first applied it on, like it looked good and everything, but then I was getting ready this morning for church, and then I mixed it again with like a moisturizer. I barely used any product, and then I mixed it all together and then applied it. And then it's crazy because again, like I got out of church and I was like, wow, like at first I looked a little crazy, but then it just kind of sits, and then it just looks so much more beautiful as the day goes on. And again, that's like the best foundation to have, because you know most people are working 8-hour days, like at least. So you want your foundation, your face makeup to look good. You don't want to feel like halfway throughout the day feeling self-conscious, because that really just takes away from your day. And I feel like this foundation is really good. And yeah, I definitely feel like as the day goes on, it does apply better. And it does say that it is full coverage. I would 110% agree. It's made in Italy, which is kind of cool. And I believe it's cruelty free as well. So that is, if that's important to you, then that's good to know for this one. And normally when I wear it, I'll set it with like the Laura Mercier translucent powder. I've had this for like over a year now, and I've used like almost every day I use that, and it's still lasting. But I actually like using the L'Oreal True Match powder just to help give myself a little bit more color. And I use it really sheer just to set it everywhere. I usually use it with like the Tarte Shape Tape concealer, and it applies beautifully. I've used this on my sister, who her skin's a little bit more uneven as far as like the texture goes, and it made her skin look so flawless. She actually went out and bought it when she was here visiting with my mom, and it just looks so beautiful, like the most beautiful foundation I've ever seen on her skin. And she used quite a few. But yeah, which I also like about this too is, say like you're using a foundation that's really sheer, but you just want to bump up the coverage a little bit. You can also just use a little bit of this in and mix it in with that foundation, whether you need to lighten it or darken it or just keep it the same color. And then it would provide more coverage. So yeah, that is my review on the Juvia's Place I Am Magic foundation. It definitely makes you feel like magic as you're wearing it. So I would highly recommend it. You can buy it from Ulta. You can buy it online, but if you don't, there's so many different shades. I think there's like at least 40 shades, is my understanding, in the collection. So there's so many different shades, and one might be a little too light, one might be a little too yellow, one might be a little too pink for you. So if you have access to an Ulta, I would definitely highly recommend going in and getting shade matched. If not, then you know you can always kind of chance it. I'm in the color Bali 720, which is I think the 3rd or 4th shade from the bottom. And what's so nice is that she's actually got a lot of ranges in the paler skin as well as like the darker skin tones as well. Because normally like there's one color and usually it's super pink, not really neutral. Or this one I would definitely say is more of like a neutral, because I'm not too pink and I'm not too yellow. So I would highly recommend this. But yeah, that is my finished review. I hope you guys have a great rest of your day, and I hope you enjoyed this video. If you have any questions, go ahead and leave them down below, or comments or requests, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye.